I still remembered the smell of lasagna. That weird detail stuck in my brain, burned into the moment like a watermark. Because that night, everything I thought I knew about my family cracked. We were sitting at the dinner table, me, my parents, and my older brother Josh, when my mom suddenly dropped her fork and looked at me with those glassy, overly rehearsed eyes. "Ethan," she said, "your father and we need to talk about your college fund." My stomach dropped. I'd just been accepted into my dream school, Westport University. Full of ivy-covered buildings, old library towers, and an engineering program ranked in the top 10 nationally. I'd gotten in on merit, but even with partial aid, I still needed the money my parents had promised me since I was 10. It was the only reason I hadn't applied for scholarships like a madman. "You focus on your studies," Dad had always said. "We've got the finances handled." But that night my parents sat across from me, hands clasped like hostages of their own lie, and said the words that made my blood run cold. "We lost everything, honey. The fund, it's gone. Gone." Just like that. They spun the story like pros. The stock market. Dad's bad luck investment. Some half-formed tale about a downturn that wiped out their savings. Mom was dabbing her eyes with a napkin, as if she were mourning a tragedy instead of staging one. Josh, of course, was silent. His eyes flicked between me and our parents like he was watching a bad play and didn't know when to clap. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. I nodded. Said, "Okay," and excused myself from the table. But something inside me didn't sit right. I didn't sleep much that week. At first, I tried to figure out a plan, take a year off, work, maybe defer admission and apply for emergency aid. But the betrayal hung on me like wet clothes. Every time I passed by my parents' room, I saw the glint of Dad's fancy watch, the one that cost more than a semester's tuition. Every time I checked Josh's Instagram, he was flexing new gadgets, business books, and standing in front of co-working spaces with captions like, "Hustle doesn't sleep." It didn't add up. Then the slip. It was a Tuesday. Late. I was coming back from my friend Liam's house and entered quietly through the back door. My parents didn't know I was home yet. That's when I heard it. They were in the kitchen. Talking. Laughing. I froze behind the wall. "I still can't believe you managed to convince him," Mom said, her voice light, giggly. "He bought it," Dad chuckled. "Hook, line, and sinker," my brother chimed in. "That means we're good to go, right? The $30K will cover the startup costs. I've already got the developer lined up." Startup. 30,000. My stomach twisted. They weren't broke. They didn't lose my college fund. They gave it to Josh. I remember backing out the door, my hand shaking so badly I dropped my keys on the steps. I walked 3 blocks before I could even breathe. I wasn't angry yet, not really. I was stunned. Hollow. How do you process that your parents, the people who raised you, who praised your grades, who smiled through every award ceremony, had chosen your brother over you? No, not even chosen. They lied to you, stole from you, funded his future with your sacrifice. And what's worse, they didn't even flinch. What they didn't know was that I'd been planning something else. For years, I'd worked small gigs on the side, selling refurbished tech, flipping PCs, reselling sneakers. At first it was pocket money, but when I turned 17, I'd gotten serious. Liam's uncle taught us about LLCs, about high-yield online savings, about trusts and custodial accounts, about how to legally shield your assets from family, if needed. I never thought I'd use it. But that night, under the stars, on the cold curb outside my own house, I made a choice. I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to vanish, financially, emotionally, digitally. And when I returned, I wouldn't be asking for my tuition back. They would be begging to understand how I did it. You know that feeling when the last puzzle piece clicks into place? That was me, sitting in my room that night, bathed in the blue glow of my second-hand monitor, watching my plan unfold line by line. This wasn't revenge. Not yet. This was extraction. The first thing I did was move my personal savings. I'd kept it in a joint custodial account with my parents for years, a requirement when I was under 18. It had barely attracted their attention. They assumed it was birthday money, summer job scraps. But what they didn't know was that I'd been funneling all my real income elsewhere, into a separate online bank under a shell LLC. Yeah. I had an LLC at 17. Nerdy, right? Liam and I created it to resell gaming laptops and crypto gear. I never dissolved it, just in case. Now it was saving my life. I withdrew every cent from the joint account, $2,184.36, and dumped it into my ghost fund. Next, I pulled all my gear from my room. Laptop, backup drive, Raspberry Pi cluster, even my mechanical keyboard. Anything that could hold data, gone. My parents were nosy. I knew this. I wasn't going to give them the benefit of digital doubt. I wiped my browser. Factory reset my phone. Set up a virtual number routed through a proxy. I created a new email. Bought a Chromebook and cash from a guy on Craigslist. I burned everything else. Not literally, but close. When I left, they wouldn't be able to trace me. I waited 4 more days. I acted normal. Played the good son. Cleaned the dishes. Said thank you when Dad tossed me $10 for gas, like it wasn't insulting. But at night I worked. I sent out applications, not for college, but for apprenticeships. Online tech boot camps. Remote internships. I found a small cybersecurity firm in Utah that offered a paid remote shadow program. I took the test. Passed. Got an email back the next day. You're in. Starts Monday. We pay monthly. NDA attached. Perfect. By Sunday night, I had an apartment locked, a month-to-month room rental above a bookstore 2 towns over. Paid in advance. I scheduled an Uber for 4:45 a.m. Quiet enough to slip out without suspicion. I only took 2 bags. When I closed the front door behind me, I didn't look back. Josh, meanwhile, was busy being Silicon Valley's favorite tryhard. I knew he'd launch soon, the startup he'd hyped up in every family group chat, LinkedIn post, and Instagram reel. AI-powered financial modeling, he claimed. Which was hilarious, because Josh still thought a GPU was a brand of headphones. 3 weeks later, it happened. The launch party. He called it Elevate IQ. Custom logo, flashy press release, catered event at a rented conference space downtown. I found out through a forwarded invite. Not from Josh. Not from my parents. From Liam. The invitation had one name tucked inside the special thanks section on the back of the RSVP. Mine. Ethan Cross. Not as an investor. Not as co-founder. But as a silent partner. They used my name to pad credibility. To claim I'd supported it. To pitch to venture capitalists that their founder had family backing. I stared at it for a long time. Longer than I should have. Then I smiled. Because now I had leverage. They tied my name to a business I never approved, using money they stole. And they were too stupid to realize I could ruin it. But I wasn't going to sue. Not yet. Lawsuits are loud. I wanted silence. The kind that screams when you pull the rug out and let them fall on their own. Over the next 2 months, I ghosted everyone. I stayed in my new room, head down, hands moving fast, building software for clients, reverse engineering scams for practice, leveling up every week. My mentor from the bootcamp noticed. You learn fast, he said. You ever consider consulting for real money? I had. And I would. Just not under my real name. While Josh was begging angel investors for $50,000 seed funding, I had already hit $12,000 in contracts under my alias. And then, one night, while skimming through his company's terms of service online, I spotted it, plain as day. They listed my name under founding support. That meant liability. If the company failed, if fraud happened, or if any user data got mishandled, I was legally implicated. And I had never signed anything. I screenshotted it. Archived it. Printed it. This wasn't just unethical anymore. It was illegal. And that meant I had options. Very, very sharp ones. 2 months after I disappeared, the universe sent me a gift. It was late, past 2 a.m., and I was debugging a Python script for a Singapore-based logistics client when my burner email pinged. I thought it was spam at first. Subject line, pre-seed round, elevate IQ. Curious, I clicked. That's when I saw it. The thread was between two analysts from a major venture capital firm, Lancerbait Partners. I'd researched them once, way back. They'd backed half a dozen fintech startups, all firecracker projects with big exits. The most recent email read, Ethan Kross is listed as technical support on their founding team page. He seems to have prior experience in security/engineering? Need confirmation on his involvement before we push this forward. Can someone loop him in? Loop him in. They'd added my old Gmail address to the CC field. The one linked to my old resume, the one I hadn't touched since I left home. My heart thudded. They thought I was part of the pitch. They thought I was vouching for Josh. I sat there, mouse hovering over the reply button, brain spinning. For a second, I fantasized about replying. About dropping truth like napalm across their due diligence docs. About killing the deal with one keystroke. But that would be too easy. No, I had a better idea. I drafted a reply. But not as myself. I sent it from a new alias, EC. Ledger, my consulting identity. The message was brief. Regarding the listing of Mr. Kross as a technical partner, this is inaccurate. No signed agreements, NDAs, or stakeholding were ever formalized with the listed entity. Please request formal documentation before proceeding. I let it sit. No direct accusations. No threats. Just enough doubt to poison the well. The next morning, Liam FaceTimed me with a grin so wide I thought he was glitching. Dude! You saw the thread, right? Apparently, someone leaked it. VCs started pulling out. Word got around in the startup circles. Elevate IQ had falsified credentials. Used names without consent. Their credibility tanked faster than crypto after a tweet storm. I kept silent. Watched from a distance. And while Josh scrambled to reframe his launch as a beta pivot, I focused on my next move. See, the startup's website had been hastily built, full of poorly secured APIs, unfiltered forms, and a backend that looked like it had been stitched together with hope and duct tape. And I knew the guy Josh had hired to build it, some kid from our town who once cheated off me in AP Computer Science. I found his portfolio online. Sloppy. Full of reused snippets. Then I found something else, a GitHub repo. Public. Inside? The source code for Elevate IQ. Sloppy. Unencrypted. And worst of all, it stored user data in plaintext. I didn't touch it. Didn't hack anything. But I archived it. Because now? I had a bomb. And the detonator? My name. Remember, they listed me as a founding partner. Publicly. Illegally. And if something shady happened, I'd be the fall guy. Unless I made it clear I wasn't. So I did. Through a very professional letter, signed by a very real lawyer, one of Liam's contacts, actually. It was clean. Official. Certified. Cease and desist. Remove all references to Ethan Kross from your digital and promotional materials. Failure to do so will result in legal escalation and public disclosure of misrepresentation. I even paid extra for rush delivery. 24 hours later, my name vanished from the site. No apology. No explanation. Just silence. Which told me everything I needed to know. They were scared. Good. Meanwhile, life on my end was evolving. I'd landed 3 consistent clients. My monthly income had tripled since leaving home. I was working out of a shared space now, a tiny tech co-op with creaky chairs and a bad espresso machine, but it had air, man. It had freedom. One day, while reviewing contracts, the owner of the space, a wiry guy named Marcus with a tattoo that read, "Never trust bad code," peeked over my shoulder. "EC Ledger," he said, squinting. "That your alias?" I nodded, cautious. He grinned. "Smart. You ever think about investing instead of just consulting?" That word stuck. Investing. I'd been so focused on surviving, escaping, striking back, I hadn't thought about building something bigger. But now, maybe it was time. That night, I opened the spreadsheet. It had been sitting on my desktop for weeks, labeled Red Ledger. Inside, Every dollar my parents spent that should have been mine. Every wire transfer to Josh's startup. Every Venmo request I'd ever filled without question. The total came to $31,742.12. But the revenge? That would be priceless. There's a unique kind of dread that comes when your enemy rises from the ashes, still burning, but smiling. That was Josh's face on Instagram the morning of the Series A announcement. He posted a picture in front of a bright red sports car, leased, obviously, with a caption that read, "Secured the bag. $1.2 million in series of funding locked. Let's scale. #startup grind #elevate IQ." The comments were full of fire emojis and fake friends. But me? I just stared. $1.2 million? How? After everything, the fake partner listing, the sketchy back end, the VC withdrawal, how did he land another investor? Then I saw it. Buried in the second image of the post was a blurry slide from a pitch deck, half-cropped, poorly formatted. But I recognized it instantly. It had my name. Again. Except this time? It wasn't just founding support. This time it read, "Initial technology infrastructure designed in partnership with Ethan Kross, now operating independently." They didn't just lie. They doubled down. They were still using my name. They just rephrased it, made it vaguer, slipperier. As if I was some ghostly consultant who'd left amicably. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. Instead, I screenshotted it. Archived the post. And added a new tab to the red ledger. Fraudulent Representations, Round 2. That same day, I got a message on LinkedIn. From someone named Alex C., with a job title I didn't expect to see. UI/UX intern, Elevate IQ. His message was short. "Hey, saw your name mentioned again in the Series A deck. Thought you were out. Also, you didn't hear this from me, but something's off internally. Let me know if you want to talk." I stared at it for a long time. An insider? We met the next night. Public place. Neutral turf. An outdoor coffee bar near the pier, the kind of place with overpriced cold brew and baristas who judged you if you asked for cream. Alex looked tired. Worn down. The kind of tired that comes from realizing you've hitched your wagon to the wrong star. "I joined 3 months ago," he said. "Wanted real-world experience. Josh promised the moon, said we were building something huge." "And?" I asked. "We're not. It's duct-tape junk." He went on to explain how the backend hadn't been updated in weeks, how the user data wasn't being encrypted despite repeated warnings, how their AI model was not even AI. It's just a spreadsheet with a fancy interface. He admitted, shaking his head. "We're literally charging people to access what's basically a glorified calculator." That wasn't all. Josh had been shopping around buzzwords in the investor pitch. Machine learning, blockchain integration, predictive market optimization. None of which actually existed. "It's all fluff," Alex muttered. "But here's the kicker, the investors haven't done due diligence. They bought the image. The hype. Because Josh told them you'd worked on the framework. That gave it credibility." He looked at me sheepish. "I figured you'd want to know." I nodded slowly. This was worse than I thought. It wasn't just unethical. It was criminal. I left the coffee shop with a thumb drive Alex had passed me, encrypted logs, email threads, back-end screenshots. Enough evidence to raise serious red flags with regulators, investors, and any journalist worth their salt. And as I walked back toward the co-op, my phone buzzed. A message from my mom. "Hey sweetie. Just checking in. Your brother has some really exciting news to share. We're all so proud. Call us sometime?" It was the first message I'd gotten from her in weeks. And it wasn't about me. It was about him. Still. Even now. Even after I'd vanished, gone silent, ghosted every dinner and holiday, she still saw me as an afterthought in Josh's story. I didn't respond. I just turned off my phone. And opened my laptop. That night I wrote a report. A full breakdown of the Elevate IQ startup. Misrepresentation of team credentials. Improper data handling practices. Potential wire fraud through false pitch materials. Terms of service violations. Unlicensed financial advising under the guise of tech. I didn't send it. Not yet. I was still missing one piece. The investor. I needed to know who had written that $1.2 million check. Because if they were legitimate, I could give them a gift, the truth. And if they weren't, I just found myself a bigger target. Finding the investor took less than a day. Startups love to talk. Especially insecure ones. Josh had posted a blurry shot of himself shaking hands with a man in a pale blue suit, cropped just enough to avoid revealing identity. But he tagged the location, a boutique law office downtown. One reverse image search later, I had a name. Howard Greer. Mid-tier angel investor. Big talk, low research. Known for gut feeling. Funding, which explained everything. I checked Howard's site. No due diligence team. Just a smiling headshot and some generic slogan like, backing big dreams. It didn't make me feel better. It made me feel ready. I didn't want to go scorched earth yet. But I needed him aware. A spark. So I did what I do best, planted seeds. From a freshly created anonymous email. Hello? You should review the founding claims and data practices of Elevate IQ. Public affiliations may bring legal risk. I'd start with the partner name Ethan Cross. He's not part of the company, and never was. I attached one screenshot. Just one. The investor deck page with my name. The subject line? Liability exposure inquiry, urgent. Then I sent it. No signature. Just silence. Meanwhile, I got a call from Alex, the intern. Hey. You need to see this. He forwarded me a link. A private TikTok. Not public, shared between friends. But someone had screen recorded it. Josh. In his office. Laughing with 2 employees. You should have seen his face when Mom told him the fund was gone. Josh was saying, holding a whiskey tumbler like some off-brand CEO. Kid looked like someone shot his dog. Poor guy thought we were broke. The room laughed. Another guy piped in. Didn't you use that to pay our Stripe fees? Josh nodded smugly. And the LLC setup. College fund, startup fund, same thing, right? They all cracked up. And I felt it. That switch. From strategy to war. I wasn't angry. Anger burns out too fast. I was focused. They'd laughed at my future, and turned it into a punchline. Worse, my own parents hadn't corrected him. They were still riding shotgun in the Josh show, pretending the loss was real. I'd seen their social media too. Posts like, proud of our entrepreneur son at Josh Builds. Dream big, work hard. Nothing about me. No acknowledgement. Just clean hands and full smiles. But my phone buzzed again, and this time, it wasn't bad news. It was Marcus from the co-op. You still open to consulting work? He asked. Always, I replied. Well, he chuckled. You're not gonna believe this. A firm just contacted us looking to develop real financial modeling software. And they're specifically interested in someone who knows how to build secure, ethical tools. I blinked. They say why? He laughed again. Apparently, they saw the Elevate IQ mess unfolding and want the opposite of that. Someone discreet. Someone smart. Someone pissed off enough to get it right. I didn't say yes. I said, when do I start? That night, I pulled up my old spreadsheet. Red Ledger. I updated the total, $33,279.94. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about something bigger. Control. They'd used my name to sell a fake company. Now I'd use their lies to build a real one. I was mid-call with our lead developer when the email came in. Subject. Notice of filing, Elevate IQ Incorporated. Sender, a law office I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. Until I opened the attachment. There it was. A state incorporation filing. Dated last week. Under the section. Founding officers and partners. It listed. Joshua Cross, CEO. Ethan Cross, CTO. CTO. I stared at the words so long they blurred. No consent. No conversation. No signature. They'd filed me into their fantasy. Again. And now it was on public record. This wasn't just Josh being careless. It was fraud. And this time? They'd signed my name to it. I called Marcus first. He didn't even say hello. Just, "How bad?" "Worse," I replied. He listed me as CTO in official filings. There was a pause. Then a long exhale. "Okay. You've got two options. Go. 1. We send a cease and desist, file a fraud complaint, and start shredding his little circus. And 2. You go nuclear." It wasn't a metaphor. He meant press. I'd already had screenshots, emails, code receipts, that TikTok video. Now I had legal documentation tying me, illegally, to a company I'd never touched. The only thing I didn't have was the firepower to launch it. Yet. That night my mom called. I didn't pick up. She texted a minute later. "We need to talk. Josh is in trouble. They're saying things that could ruin him. Please, Ethan." I read it twice. Then blocked the number. 2 hours later, I got another call, this time from an unknown number. I answered without thinking. "Ethan?" a woman said. "Hi, I'm Trisha Green, tech columnist at Silicon Slate. I got your contact from a source at Lancer Bay." Lancer Bay. The VC firm that bailed. "I've been following the Elevate IQ mess," she said. "But now there's word of falsified filings and impersonated staff. I wanted to verify something." "What?" I asked flatly. "Did you ever work for them?" I smiled. "No. And I can prove it." We talked for an hour. I sent her what I had. All of it. And she asked, toward the end, "Do you want to be anonymous?" I hesitated. Then said, "No. Let them see my face. Let them spell my name correctly this time." 2 days later, the article dropped. "The brother they invented, how Elevate IQ fabricated a co-founder." It hit hard. Screenshots. Leaked videos. Legal filings. It even included quotes from my anonymous whistleblower, Alex, confirming everything from fake AI claims to internal chaos. Josh's name trended for the first time. Just not the way he wanted. I wish I could say I felt triumphant. Instead, I felt clear. This wasn't just about getting even. It was about truth. And finally stepping out from under a shadow I didn't choose. Later that week, I got a call from a lawyer, Howard Greer's attorney. Polite. Cautious. "We'd like to discuss removing your name from all records and preparing a public clarification," he said. "You were never part of Elevate IQ. We understand that now." I almost laughed. "Took you long enough." The story went viral by morning. Silicon Slate. Reddit. LinkedIn gossip pages. Even TikTok was flooded with clips of Josh's face beside the headline. "Startup bro invents brother to boost credibility." Howard Greer released a statement within hours. It was full of legalese, but boiled down to, "We were misled. Ethan Cross has no involvement. We're reevaluating our relationship with Elevate IQ." By afternoon, their funding page vanished. By evening, their site redirected to a broken 404. Josh's empire didn't explode. It just rotted from the inside out. And I watched it all from the quiet of my rented room, sipping dollar store coffee, filing receipts for my next consulting client. It was quiet revenge. And it was perfect. That night, I heard from my parents. Not through texts. Not calls. They showed up. At my door. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of me. My mom looked older than I remembered. Hair tied back. No makeup. Her voice cracked before she even started. "Ethan, please. Can we just talk?" Josh wasn't with them. But the air reeked of panic. They stepped in without waiting. My dad hovered awkwardly near the couch, staring at the floor. My mom wasted no time. "You need to stop this. It's gone too far." I blinked. "You mean telling the truth?" She flinched. "He's your brother. He stole my name. It was a misunderstanding." "No," I snapped. "It was a lie. A fraud. And you knew." They were quiet. So I kept going. You let him use my college fund. You told me it vanished. Then you laughed about it. Made jokes. Called me the overreacting one. And when he listed me again? You said nothing. My mom's eyes filled with tears. We didn't know what to do. It all happened so fast. Don't, I cut in. You knew exactly what you were doing. You just didn't think I'd fight back. Dad finally spoke, barely audible. We thought you'd forgive us. I stared at him. That's what you're here for. Not to apologize. Just to be forgiven? They didn't answer. Which was answer enough. I stood. This wasn't a conversation. This was a clean-up attempt. And I was done being their janitor. I want no more contact, I said flatly. No messages. No pop-ins. No fake family dinners to make yourselves feel better. You can't mean that, my mom whispered. I looked her dead in the eye. I do. They left in silence. No hugs. No goodbyes. Just the sound of the door clicking shut. And I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding for years. 2 days later, an email landed in my inbox. Subject: Tech Forward Ethics Summit, Speaker Invitation. It was real. I checked 3 times. A panel on digital transparency, ethics in startup culture, and whistleblower protections. I scrolled down to the invite list. My name was there, second from the top. 2 spots below it? Cancelled, Joshua Cross, former CEO, Elevate IQ. I didn't even smile. I just clicked. Accept. The summit venue was glass and steel, humming with recycled air and espresso shots. Every hallway buzzed with tech jargon and overpriced sneakers. Cameras were everywhere. So were eyes. But mine stayed forward. I wore a simple black button-up. No logos. No company name. Just me. A year ago, I would have shrunk under the lights. Let someone else do the talking. Now? I stepped up to the mic and took a breath. Hi. My name's Ethan Cross. A pause. I was never the CTO of Elevate IQ. But I was listed as one. Twice. Without consent. There were nods. Some shocked. Some knowing. I told them the story, not the viral version, not the headlines. The quiet truth. About family betrayal. Financial erasure. And what it means when your identity becomes a marketing tool. But this isn't about revenge, I said. It's about reclamation. Of name. Of dignity. Of self. When I stepped off stage, the applause was real. But I didn't care about the claps. I cared that I said it. Out loud. And it was mine. Back in my room that night, I found an envelope slipped under my door. No return address. Inside was a handwritten note. Ethan, I messed up. I was trying to build something. You wouldn't understand. But now it's all gone. I know you probably hate me. But maybe we can work together. Start over. For real this time. Josh. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just an ask. One last pull. I folded the note. Tossed it in the trash. He was right about one thing. I didn't understand. Because I built everything without stealing from someone else. 3 weeks later, I launched my own product. Simple. Secure. Honest. A budgeting tool for young professionals. No fluff. No fake buzzwords. Just code that worked. It hit 10,000 downloads in the first month. I didn't need a spotlight. I had freedom. And every time I saw my name listed, as the sole creator, I smiled. Not because I was proud, but because I knew it was real. I sometimes walk by my old house. I never go in. The curtains are always drawn now. Quiet. Maybe they moved. Maybe they just stopped pretending. Either way, I don't check. Some things I've already said goodbye to.